Hey, hi everyone, welcome back to Code with Venki. Today we'll see input function, how it works. In any programming language, it's important to interact with users. In Python, this is achieved by allowing users to input data through input function. So this is the input function. So this is essential for programs where you want to collect data dynamically, like entering name, age, or any other information. We'll see the basic structure of input function. Here you can see this is the input function and it is taking on parameter called prompt. So if we enter, it will take. Now I will take variable as user input. So underscore input is equal to input. Okay, I'm taking input and storing in user input. So here we already see prompt as parameterized, right? So the input function displays a prompt message like text in quotes and waits for the user to type something and then stores the input in a variable. Here in this condition, the prompt message is I'm writing prompt message for the user sorry user. So this is the prompt message, like it will display the message to the user to inform whether you are asking for any name or password, I mean name or age, anything, any data which you are trying to set to user to enter the data. So and this is the prompt message, and this input function will take the input from the user and stores the input, whatever the data given by the user, it will store in input user input. And here input function is always stored as a string. So if even if the user enters a number, it will take it as a string. So simply I can write another thing. I will store input in name and I will ask user to enter the what is the name of the user. So what is your name, so that user can understand, like here we need to give name for this input, so and so input. So I will take and I will print it as I already explained about print function. So I'm concatenating this username, concatenation and converting data types I will explain in another video. So far I will explain for input, and if I use anything like concatenation or conversion of data types, I will just use and just see the how I am using and how I am implementing here in input function. So I will explain, I will make another video on concatenation, type casting and all. So while explaining data types, I will explain the typecasting, don't worry about that. So here it then the user prompts the the program prompts the user to enter their name. It then stores the name in a variable name and print a greeting by concatenating name with a string. Here you can observe, right? I will run, and so here it is asking for name, so I'm giving input as Venki. So here you can see hello Venki, it is taking input from the user and storing in the name, and I'm using name here to greet the user. So this is one type of example. So coming to, I already explained, like this input always takes string, no matter what you give, like if you give number or anything other than string, then it will take as string. So we need to be conscious, like if you are giving number, then it will take number, you can't think like that, so it will take string as anything you give input. So our responsibility is like we need to cast the input according to our needs. So here, since input function always returns a string, if you want to if you want the user to input a number, example age or calculation, some calculations, so you need to convert it to different data types like integer or float according to your need. So I will take one example here. Age is equal to input. Okay, I will show you whether it is taking string input as a string, anything you gave, like whether it is a number or a string. So we'll get to know that here. So I'll store this input as input in age variable, and I'm taking another variable called age, and I'm converting it into integer. Okay, so I'm using print function again. So print function is the basic need we are going to use in Python, and in another programming languages also we'll use this print statement frequently. So here I'm trying to do concatenation. I give equal to, right, concatenating with some message, years old. So as I explained in a previous video about print, here if you want to concatenate with any string like any message, so you need to convert it into string. If it is already in string, no need to convert. If it is in arithmetic or numeric input, so we need to convert into string. Or else you can use f print f and message, and you can use flower brackets to get rid of it. So I will run here and see. So it is asking age, I'm giving 18. So you are 18 years old, it is printing here. And if you see print type of, so here age, I will explain about type of and everything in another video. You will get confused here. Basically, this type of function is used to find the data type of particular variable. So, okay, here the input takes as a string and stored in age variable here, and then we convert the string to integer using int concatenation. Afterwards, we can use age in arithmetic operations. Like we can use here an example I will give: print age plus 1. Okay, and here I'm giving print age plus 1. So we'll see the differences here. I'm giving 18 as input. Yeah, here you can see can only concatenate string, not integer, to a to string. So here in which line we are getting error? In line 2. So because age is integer, that's why it is asking us to give another integer. I mean, here age is string, and it is asking if you want to concatenate, then two strings can be concatenated. If you want to sorry, here basic thing is like it is string, and if you want to concatenate with anything to this age, then it should be a string. But here we gave number, right? That's why it is asking for string. So if you try like this, and I am giving age here, see here it is concatenated with the actual string which is stored in age, that is 18 as a string. It takes, and it added 1 here, that's why we are getting 181. This is string. And here we converted this age in using int concat sorry, int casting. So here this string is converted to int, and we added 1 here, that's why we didn't get any error like we can't concatenate with other type, data type. So for this, 18 is a number and we are adding 1 to it, so it becomes 19. I hope you understand this scenario. And here uh, we'll try to convert same thing into float. We convert it into integer, right? So I'm taking w is equal to weight, and I am asking user to print, I mean user to give a value or your weight. Enter your weight here, weight, and I'm taking W because here we'll get only string, right? To calculate or to make it float, I'm using float here. Don't be tensed, I will explain you how I used, I mean, sorry, how I am doing this concatenation and converting data types, I mean casting the data types. I will explain in next video clearly about data, what are the data types and what are the built-in data types and user defined data types. And also I will explain how to change from one data type to another data type. So here just focus on input, how we can modify this input in different ways as we want in different functions, like different use cases. We will have different use cases, right? That's why I'm uh, using like this. So your weight is, I'm printing dynamically here. And same thing, if it is string, there is no problem, we can directly use, but here we converted it into a float, right? That's why I'm converting this again into the string. So you can ask like why we need to convert into float and then again to string. So this is the requirement, like I am saying. You can use print like dynamic way, or you can greet a user using dynamic way. So if there are anything, like if we want to calculate on particular weight and age, so that time we'll use we'll convert this input and we'll store in one variable, and then we'll convert this into according to our requirement, like float or integer or anything like that. So that's why I'm explaining here. Yes. Okay, we'll run and see whether it is working fine. I'm giving 69.9. So here you can see your age is 69.9. It will take uh, as string and store in variable w, and I'm converting this into float and then printing in the statement. Okay, or else you can simply, one second, or else you can simply give this float here itself. Like we are wasting variable, right? We are using more space here. Space complexity will be there. This space complexity and time complexity I will discuss in data structures. After this Python series I will start data structures, and I will explain cleanly and more efficient way to understand this, what are the time complexities and space complexities, how we can reduce and how we can write code in more efficient way. I will explain in data structures using Python. So as of now, this is what I'm trying to explain. Here I will take a simple calculator. Here more interactive example with where the program asks for user to give two numbers and perform sum. So I will take number one is equal to input, and I am asking for enter number one here, and number, I'm taking number two and asking user to enter number two. Okay, so then I will take number one is equal to int of number one, because we are performing some operation here, right? So for that we need to convert it into integer, then only we can perform some operations. We can't perform some operation on strings, right? We need only numbers. That's why I'm changing it to it, and I'm taking sum is equal to number one plus number two. Okay, and I'm printing this sum of two numbers is plus string of, here what will we give, like here will give sum, right? sorry, I written in this double quotes, that's why okay. So here we'll run and see. I want to add 5 and 6, so here we got 11. So this is lengthy code, so we can short this code. Like here we are taking and storing input in number one, and we are typecasting it into integer, right? So instead of writing this all, we can simply give here int of, we can directly convert it while taking input from the user. Okay, no need to store it in one variable and then convert into integer and storing in another variable. So here you can see we are taking number one, and user giving input, and we'll directly convert that input without storing anywhere. And using int casting, we converting that whatever the input given by user, so we are converting and storing in number one. That is, we are using only here one variable, one to second variable and third variable. So we'll run and see. Again, it will ask for user input, and 5 plus 3, it is 8. So this is for numbers. And here in advance we can use, sometimes user might not provide the correct input type. Like example, entering letter instead of numbers. You can teach, you can see, like we are human side, we may do some mistakes. So to avoid that, we'll handle, we have another concept like handling errors with user input. So handling errors is another concept I will explain last of this series. It is an advanced topic. So as of now, just I will give the overview, and I will write some code regarding handling errors with the user input. So don't be panic if you don't understand. If you understand, well and good. So as of now, here we in error handling will use try and except method. So in try, will give whatever the thing, whatever the logic of your code will give here. This will first this block will run, like try method will run. Then if you have any errors in try block, then it will jump into except. So I will explain it. Here I am writing print, you enter the number. I'm concatenating this str as num. So exception is, here you can see exception is value error. We have some specific errors in Python, so that I will explain in while doing video on handling errors. So as of now, I am taking this as a value error. And if the user don't I mean, if user by mistakenly given any integer, I mean any string or letter instead of giving numbers, it will trigger this except block. So here, whatever the output I want to give to user, I will type here like oops, that was not a valid number, so please enter an integer. So first we'll run this and see whether it is working as expected or not. So if I give 5, it will give you are entered the 5, right? So you enter the 5 means it is only executing this try block. It is not executing this print statement, that is oops, that was the not a valid number, please try an integer. So if you try to give some string like Venki or anything else, here it will check if the given input is a number or else any string type or character. So then it won't execute this try method. So whenever the error comes, it will jump into except block. So here in this block we have print statement. So it is giving oops, that was not a valid number, please enter an integer. So this is the concept here. This way we can use, like if you want to a user to enter only particular data type, like whether it is string, integer or float or anything, so you can differentiate here. in advance we can use multiple inputs in one line, like we can use uh, if you want to take two numbers, and I explained about taking two numbers and doing sum on that. So there we took two different inputs, right? Like number one is equal to end of input, and number two is equal to end of input. So if the problem is like if the program wants multiple number of parameters, like multiple number of user inputs, then it is then our code gets more use more lines, right? It will take, if you want to take 100 inputs from user, then you need to write number one is equal to int of input one, number two is equal to int of input, number three is equal up to so on, number 100 is equal to int of input, right? So this many repeated number of blocks will be generated here. So the basic thing, whether you are a programmer or you are a software developer, anything, so the thing is like your code should be efficient, and you can use functions to reuse the code. So here main concept is we need to reuse the code, and we do not repeat any similar code within our block, like within our package. So that's why in Python we have multiple inputs, we can take multiple inputs in one line, and this is advanced. So nothing much, you can just try it out. So I will explain you this. You can introduce taking multiple lines in one line to your node, like you can keep this and as a bonus tip. So I am taking number one, number two. So this type, like this we can use. So user will enter two numbers. So before going to explain this, we need to mention the separator, like delimiter for whatever the values you are entering to differ, that these are the multiple inputs you are giving, right? So if you give 1 2 3 4, then it will take as single value. That's why you need to give like whatever the differentiation, like delimiter, like space or a comma or whatever it may be. But by the end you need to mention here, like I'm writing a message to user so that he can understand what I'm expecting from the user. So here I'm expecting number two numbers separated by a space. Okay. So then we need to add any additional one, like split. We'll split whatever the input given by the user by based on the whatever the delimiter, like whatever the specifications, like it is comma separated or space separated or semicolon separated, whatever it may be. So here if you are using for space, you can directly use dot split, no need of mention any delimiter here. So I'm taking number one is equal to input, int, I'm converting it into int number one, and number two is equal to int of number two, and I'm printing the sum of two numbers. So number one plus number two, I'm not giving much like data here. So I'm using 3 as my input. Oh sorry, here you can see it is expecting 2, we got 1. After giving 3 I gave enter, so it is asking for user to, here you can see error, value error, as I explained in handling errors for the user input. So here you can see if it is not matched with what are the parameters it is expecting, so it will throw an error. If you use exception, try an exception, it will here you can see process finished with the exit code 1, right? So whenever you use handling error handling functions like concept, so it will return code as 0. That means our code is not broken whenever the error comes. So we manage that error. We know that if the user enters one parameter where it is expecting two parameters, so we can differentiate, like we can get to know that it is a value error. Here we can get a value error, so we'll accept that value error. If anything goes fine, so it will execute the code. If it a value error comes, and this code will never broke, like it will not escape from middle of the code, not executing anything. Like here you can see, uh, again we need to rerun here. So for small codes it is fine, but if you're writing for a huge number of lines, like big code for big problems, it is not good practice to not to use that error handling. So here I'm running again. So here I'm giving value 3 and 5, so here we'll get 8. I think, I hope you understand. So the input function is the one of the easiest way to make your Python programs interactive. However, always remember to cast the input to the appropriate data types, like whether you are converting, whether you want that input data type input as integer, float, or string. So if you want as a string, you don't need to cast to any data type, like you don't need to convert it to any data types. So when working with numbers or performing calculations, please be conscious, like we need to convert the string, that whatever the input is given and stored, we need to convert it into according to your, whether you're working with integer or float function. So here for input we are taking two numbers, right? So instead of giving, if you are taking like 100 inputs, so here you need to give number 1, number 2, number 3, and so on, number 100, and it is in one line. But here you need to give like 1, 2, 3, and so on up to 100, right? That is more hectic way to represent this input function here. So for that, we have map. So map basically take two parameters, that is what are the data types you want to convert the input into, and the input, and we need to mention the split is common. So if we are taking for comma, so then we'll store this in an array, that is list. So before that we need to mention that here array is equal to list. Here for list we'll mention using two square brackets, open and close. So it will take array as list. Here you can see, here array is equal to list is equal to, it is taking this array as list. So it will store whatever the inputs you are given into an array, so then you can perform whatever the calculations you want according to your problem. So this I will explain about map and list in another video, where I will explain about list and how to append, delete, or whatever the elements you are adding in into the list, you want to append, or you want to remove, or you want to pop it. So that I will explain in list concepts. So there I'll explain, I will cover this map ready, map function too. So here you don't need of, don't need to worry about map. So that's all, guys. Hope you understand. Here we use how to use input function, how it works, and a simple input by taking some string like name. And then I explained about accepting arithmetic numbers, like converting the input into integer. And then we performed how to convert string to float. So we took some weights and then we converted it into float value, and then we printed. So and another example we took, like using input for calculations, where we took two inputs, number 1 and number 2, and performed some operation there. And we also used handling errors with user input. So I'm briefly explaining whatever we gone through as of now. So and we used this multiple inputs in one line, that is this is the code that where we use multiple inputs in one line. And yeah, guys, this is all about input function, how we use input function and how we convert it into different data types according to our problem. Hope you understand, and if you have any queries, please do comment. Hope